Hey everyone, this is Neil King, and this is Random Acts of Cartooning, and I have just completed the sketchbook for Inktober. It's called The Bride, and I'm going to show you the entire sketchbook. 31 interior spreads with an interior cover and an exterior cover. Glass pages. But first, okay, so this episode's influence is going to be Darwyn Cooke, and this is one of the many books that he's done, but I do really love it because it's a limited color interior. So it's this kind of noir book, which I feel like he's really that's his real gift when he was alive. He's no longer alive. And it's just so beautifully laid out. And all the things that he's done, he always has this great sense of time. And I feel like the limited color here is just so appropriate for this kind of genre. He is so great at timing. But his whole feel is, again, very cartoony style, throwback style. But I think this limited color really does add to his style really well. I mean, it's something that I really like with mine. And I feel like he's a major influence on me. I mean, he's very Ditko and very Kirby. Animation background. So his story talent is just unprecedented, really. Great sense of drama. I feel like by using the limited color, it really adds to the whole feel of the whole piece. And this isn't something that a lot of people may be that interested in, the noir comics and things, but when this master illustrator does something like this, like just looking at what those textures do with the figure and with backdrops. This is really what I think about what I just did with my sketches for The Bride. This is something that I think about all the time whenever you see it, that drama, when you take it away and it's just the whiteness of the background. He's so great with architecture, just a master. So yeah, if you haven't gotten this that he just illustrated, so beautifully done. Darwyn Cooke. Okay, here we go. So this is The Bride. It's Inktober. And what I decided to do was, instead of just do different types of line art, I decided to do a play off of The Bride from the 1930s movie. And this was the first interior spread. This is just like a 90-pound sketchbook, paper that's 90 pound. And so this is the title page, and it's the typical image of her, beautiful image that they developed. And so, you know, even now people will wear these as costumes, or you'll see some type of a thought of it. So I thought I'd bring her out there at the beginning. This is my first spread. And then I have to do some kind of a narrative. So in the book, they did have a character that they would bring back, and the film, they really didn't do as much with this whole idea. So I started off with, we have to kind of figure out who she is. And this is a total Bernie Wrightson image that is in one of his Frankenstein things. So I used kind of a part of her. And then I just came back and I used it's a monochromatic color scheme. It's all brushes and some red watercolor that I mix up with some black and gray. And this is the look of it, this is the setup. And here we are with Dr. Frankenstein, Dr. Pretorius, and this kind of servant kind of aid that helps them throughout this whole story. But I kind of changed it up again. Like there's a lot of things that I wanted to do with this. So I tried to get a good feeling of these guys going back. Big emphasis on the front, that they're watching as this has begun. This woman's been hung. So I rotated the book from there, and they bring after people have left, they bring the body down. And this is based off of a Rubens painting. Did like the descending Christ from the cross. So she's kind of Christ-like. Right? Again, using that watercolor with the grays. The fourth one, again, we're establishing that they're bringing the body over to the tower. And I'm hoping as a spread that I'm telling the story here, that people can follow it even if they haven't seen any of it. So again, like, we're brought into the castle from there. So I try to make this area as dark as I could, trying to base it heavily off of that from Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. And then I bring you towards the light. So you're seeing they're bringing the figure up towards that light. There's that spread. From there, you focus you're coming from a distance in the tower down into you're supposed to focus down on this figure of this woman. Now remember, she's a corpse, so she's dead, and I want to try, though, to get a little sense of the architecture there. Lots of little things going on in the background. Trying to set a mood. And this is kind of like a little still life. So there's an ear, an eye, a brain, a heart. In the movie, they had this little meter that would be able to figure out how the heart is pumping. It was a big part in The Bride of Frankenstein. Again, little still life. And then this is kind of, to me, almost like a dreamlike state where, this brain is being put into this head. Again, I have feeling like this is another kind of Nefertiti feeling, this long neck, just a face. But the idea, it's abstract. It's kind of like, is she dreaming this? This is happening. And then I get closer into all of the scars from it. All the parts that she would have had from different bodies. Again, using that monochromatic scheme to bring us through. And then there you have it, that she's we come down onto this character, and she's just there, wrapped up. This mummy character almost. And then this is the first representation of the monster. So, you're going from this page, and they're looking over towards the first time that you see the Frankenstein monster. Again, I see a lot of Bernie Wrightson influence there. It's that nose that's gone. That's a Wrightson move. And apparently it's been done before, but I think of him. A little bit of observational background stuff. Just a little bit of background. And again, we're moving the story across. This is the October 12th. And then so the monster, we're trying to move the narrative across. And then what I'm trying to do is, in the spread, bring in that there's all of the lightning storm that's out there to bring this character to life, to get moving on this. Kind of a nice setup. Again, I tried to use the actual film, the background, as much as I could. Then again, this is kind of a stylistic idea where you see the monster and then here she is and they're below. So you can read it like this, up, or I could see it down too. She's just there. And then I swoop it across so that you can see that she is being brought up towards the top of the tower where all the lightning is. Next, again, the idea that there's all this chaos going up there from the lightning. And I'm just trying to get strokes in there, but that the characters are there. You can see I put a little bit almost like a skull face of the monster, focusing on the two doctors from the film. And then the exterior. It's not as, like if you watch the film, there's so many things going on. I try to simplify it to a certain part. But I like this idea of pulling you through. And even just that, using the monochromatic thing across to get that whole scene. Kind of a step. As always, I am a working cartoonist. So in my Amazon store, this is another one of my books that I've done. 3 Little Pigs in a Blanket. It's a limited color piece, appropriate for this episode. And it's 3 pigs story where one of the pigs was worried about his friends leaving because they all had these great talents. One's an architect, one wants to travel the world. So he has to try to find a way to keep them into their house. So the story goes along, but lots of fun stuff going on. I feel like it has, it's an all ages book. A lot of fun. And one of the things that I do try to do with all my books is try to make sure that a large audience can read them. So as always, make sure that you are liking and subscribing to my channel, but picking up, if you can, go in the details of this specific episode, go to my Amazon store and pick up one of my books. Kind of establishes. And then there she is, like she's to me like the horizon, like the land, and then the bit of lightning that's about to touch her. So it's the moment, that's that quiet before what's about to happen. Again, I'm trying to get a lot of texture in there with my watercolor, the 16. And then that's the big burst. Again, I think that by using the monochromatic color scheme, it really brings you through. Simplify that figure. I think that was pretty successful. And then, so she's brought down with all the, just all that idea that having all that, the lightning hit her and all that stuff with the smoke and the steam and all that. But to get both of them, get that distant shot up until that we see her head. Frankenstein's there. And in the background, you see the third helper with the Frankenstein monster. Off camera, really, almost. Bring you through. And then this is the big part. This is important. I always thought in the film you can see him reaching for her hand. There's the body. And then the hand moves. So you know she's alive. Trying to make that spread work out so you kind of read it from left to right. And this is the big one, right? They take her, the gauze off of her face. They're not sure what's going to happen. And that's like a very famous part to the movie. It's full screen in the movie. I think that can read. And again, I rotate the camera so she's up here. And that's the first time you really see her alive. Arms are up. We put those guys in kind of silhouette. And then it carries us down till she kind of closes her eyes like she's in the film, like she passes out or something, like she's right there. And they start taking off all the bandages. So we turn the camera back over on its regular part, and we see her eyes as if she's in it, as she's woken up. But I considered it like kind of a dream. And if she is the bride, that isn't this her idea of a bride? Kind of Disney-like, you know, birds are covering her up. So you get this sense of what maybe she would think being a bride is like. But then the reality of what's happening. She's in this, you know, lab with these two men. And then you're presented with the look of the bride that we're used to seeing, covered up with just this kind of curtain. She's still wrapped up. But I just wanted to kind of focus in on her and their reaction to her. This is what their bride is. So this is where I kind of go into different directions here from the original stuff. So we're closer in. They're seeing her and she's kind of in a daze. But then off to the side we see the monster. And the monster is being held back. Okay, get a good sense of him. And then this is kind of a big scene in the movie where he, you know, grabs her hand. And again, my idea of this too is like, I'm trying to think about how she is, not so much about how the monster feels. So she's the star of this, not so much as like in the movie. So I want you to get this idea of, you know, there's another man here that's taking control of this situation. It's probably pretty terrifying. So my idea is that she pulls away from the three of them. She doesn't go towards these two, the doctors. She goes away from three of them because, again, she's in this situation. And then I'm trying to show that she's kind of angry at this point. She's changed this whole thing of being scared, and now she's more angry. Setting up this page, page 7, where I get a little rage to show that. And then I use the hair as a lightning bolt just to pull us through. That's that spread. Try to keep everything without a lot going on. Then I move over to this, which happened in the Bride of Frankenstein, but Frankenstein actually grabbed it. There's a lever in the lab that could destroy the entire place. So you can't just do that. I couldn't just have a lever. But I wanted her to grab it. So I put danger on it. Again, you can see their hands like, oh, like get away from that thing. There's no text. I have a heavy shadow off of her, screaming almost to do it. And then she does it. She hits the danger. So there's a big explosion. In the film, the entire tower crumbles. And then you show what's left afterwards. All the smoke and the ashes and all the fire and everything. And the only one that comes out is her. In the film, it doesn't work out that way. They let the Dr. Frankenstein live. You know that the monster eventually lives. But in this story, she's the only one that lives. And then I have this, you know, great image here. It's all based off of a very romantic, the Romanticism period, with the wanderer of the fog, above the fog. And it's kind of, to me, I always think of it as in the Enlightenment period too, but it's Romanticism. So, but all of that idea that she's there and she has this whole world that she's going to explore. Really kind of changes the idea of the idea of that. And then I just have an image of her at the end where it's later. And I have her in clothes and different types of things, change the hair a little bit so that she's all right, that she's making a life. And I thought that would be a nice way to have a modern idea of the bride. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this. It was a really lots of fun to make. And I'm going to be making some more of these types of books. And again, as always, just make sure that you're checking out some of the things I'm doing. I will post as much as I can about all the newer pieces that I'm doing. But there's a lot of fun. And check out Amazon, my Amazon store with the links. And thanks for watching.